Last night I got stuck in my head again about what's the right thing to make, what's going to work. Ah, dear me. And so I had a conversation with Claude the AI and I said, help me out here. But I specifically said, give me an answer like Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks would give me an answer. And the reply that came back to me was to play and to, kind of lift my mood a little bit like that. I tell you what, the worst thing I can possibly do is get into that mindset of what's going to work, what are people going to like. But what I've come back to is just playing. And you can see I've been sharing here the cartoons that I've been playing at. A few people have asked me to see if I can animate. I've been researching AI. All these, I draw the cartoons and then I pop it into the AI machine and we see what happens from there. But really, today's just a conversation about if you've got this thing going on in your head of what's going to work, what's going to work, what's going to happen, if you're like me, is that you'll just stop making stuff. And that is how I get completely stuck. And so although I don't have some future plan of this is going to be amazing and this is what's going to, I don't know, make everything a success and different things like that, I am at least experimenting and playing things. And what was interesting today was my husband and I have a business, and I was thinking of some of the things that I was learning that I could possibly help in terms of income for his side of the business based on things that I was learning. And I thought, okay, well, maybe that kind of justifies some of the work. Because sometimes when it comes to creating and having it as a business, it feels like an expensive hobby. And as I say, there is no pressure on me from my husband about earning an income and paying the bills or anything like that. But I feel a pressure. I say, I'm not even sure that it's pressure. I feel a desire to earn with what I'm making and the things that I'm creating. I don't know. I'm putting these cartoons up. I'm putting these cartoons up. No, if you're wondering, I don't know what this is as a business. No, me neither. I don't know why I feel called to do this. I don't know why this is play. I don't know why I want to spend time making these things. I don't know how this becomes anything else other than I like making stuff and so I'm making it. But I do wonder whether the skills that I'm learning in this playing are going to end up being useful for something else. And I thought, well, maybe I should be sharing this. I mean, one of the thoughts last night, the first one that I did was a little cartoon character and it was pretty dark and she had a knife in her hand and like blood dripping off it, and that'll come up at some point. But the fact that she and her leg, the way the cartoon with the AI came on, her leg was kind of dragging behind her. Considering that was my first thing, I spoke to Claude. I said, what shall I do? It says, follow your bliss and do all things that you find fun. So I draw this really dark, but dark for me cartoon. It's cutish, but it's dark for me. And then I uploaded it, and as I say, the program behind the scenes got this person walking along and kind of dragging a leg, and I just thought, oh, I love it, and that made me want to do more of them and experiment with different things, and just play again. And I do believe when I get into sort of the spiritual type of things, I do believe that creating from a place where I'm happy and enjoying different things is the kind of work that I want to be making. For the pure creative side of things rather than the functional behind the scenes jobs. For the pure creative, I want to be in that mindset of what do I want to make? And what tickles me and what do I want to share and different things like that, rather than what will work and what will people like and where do I go next and what's the direction. Now, I like that kind of thinking as in a puzzle. So I've been saying on the different daily updates that I was looking at sort of a body of work of mine, and I like it as a puzzle, as trying to figure myself out. What am I interested in? What are the directions going forward? but I don't like it for inspiring me to create on an everyday basis, if that makes sense. So I do think I need to switch between those two different mindsets. And it was really useful for me to say, what would be play? And it's like, okay, play would be AI. Play for me tends to be the cartoons. Play tends to be looking at the AI and what's possible and different things like that. But if you want to create, or I don't know, or if you're just curious about sort of the creative mindset for other people, I thought it might be worth sharing that I was in a funk. I turned to Claude on AI and I said, give me advice as what's to do next. But I didn't say, what's the right thing to do? I knew that that was a terrible mindset. I knew that that doesn't work for me. I said, give me advice like Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, in that I knew what kind of advice I wanted to hear. I think sometimes you know, don't you, what the message that you want to hear. When I was younger, I used to go shopping with a particular friend if I knew I wanted to spend a lot of money, because I knew that she would encourage me to spend all my money. So I think you know the kind of advice that you're leaning towards and what you want to do. But play, have fun. It's useful for the puzzle to try and work out a strategy and different things like that. But sometimes it's useful to play, and it's okay if the first thing that you play with is maybe a little bit darker, and then you come back and you just explore and try out different ideas. And it may be that those skills are transferable later, and maybe not. Maybe the whole point was just to experiment and for me to be enjoying doing the cartoons again. So keep playing. Take care. Bye.